Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Um, we're blessed to have, excuse me, our vice mayor who's here with me to my right, my city attorney, our city attorney who will be taking over in a few seconds. She'll be going over the ballot questions, one item by one item, for the total of 8 referendums which are being proposed for all the residents to consider. I want to thank our city manager who's here, our DCM, our ACM, our city clerk, all our directors, all our staff. I want to thank Alina Garcia, supervisor of elections, who's on her way. She's currently meeting with the president and the president's staff. I also want to thank our county commissioner for District 6, Natalie Milian Orbis, which, as you know, both of these individuals are incredibly talented and they're always here in the city of Coral Gables. Specifically, commissioner for the District 6, who has a person in my office once a week, meeting with residents, addressing issues in regards to the District 6. Because again, there's an overlap because we have two, I know all of you know this, but I just want to make sure that I repeat it so that people understand. There's 2 county commissioners that represent the city of Coral Gables. District 6, Natalie Orbis, and then we also have 7, which is Raquel Regalado, because sometimes people call me and they don't understand that there's an overlap and, I'd like to speak with a certain county commissioner. Let's redirect. Unlike the city of Coral Gables, which is an open, we serve the entire community, the county is broken up into 13 districts. And I think that's important to note. So I want to thank her incredible staff who's in the back. Please give them a round of applause for the commissioner and also for the supervisor of elections. Please rise. Thank you. I also want to thank our incredible IT team, all our directors that are here. Thank you for your hard work on behalf of the community and being so responsive. Our police chief, our fire chief. Thank you very much. As we move on, very briefly before I let the city attorney take over, we've been doing town hall meetings for the last 13 years since I was elected. I made a promise. We may not always agree, but you're going to have a seat at the table. And I don't think that there's another elected official in South Florida that has open door Fridays and also has town hall meetings, if not twice a year at a minimum, 4 times a year. It's an opportunity to voice your opinion on a weekly basis and also to bring guest speakers like the supervisor of elections and our District 6 commissioner. These are opportunities to interact one-on-one and to speak about issues that affect not only South Florida, but more importantly, affect the city of Coral Gables. I take great pride in that. I take great pride in having our residents have a seat at the table. And I also thank the vice mayor for also doing open office hours for 5 years now since she got elected. I know it's a big burden. When I say a burden, I say it in a good thing, because as a practicing attorney, she takes up a lot of her time to make sure that she's there every single week, also providing open office hours. And before I swing it over to our city attorney, I want to remind everyone, I know you all know, we will have our first commission meeting here tomorrow. City Hall will be under renovations in a few months. Probably, what would you say, Mr. Manager, 2 months we'll start?
Renovations will start as far as exploratory demo.
So exploratory demo has already started.
We plan on having construction in the 3rd quarter.
So we'll be starting construction in the 3rd quarter of this year. So for those people asking, it's a significant renovation. It's been one that's been in the works for years. I want to commend the manager and the commission for finally tackling this $30 million necessity. This is our crown jewel, and this is something that's been much needed. Our offices are literally right next door. If you step outside these doors here and you make a right, go past the garage, and you'll see the commission offices are there. You can stop in, you can meet with our team, you can meet with the commissioners. So we will be out of that. We will be out of City Hall for possibly, the manager says, 2 years. Having a little bit of a construction background, I think we'll probably never, at least I will probably never go back to City Hall. It's probably going to be a 3-year project because of the intensity of the project and the care, like we've talked about with the manager. To finish this project, it can't be done with a sledgehammer. It has to be done with a toothbrush, because this is how sensitive of a project this is. I've done historic preservation before, projects both in the beach and in downtown. These projects never come on time as a result of the fact that every time you take a layer of drywall off, you find something that you didn't expect behind it. So I want to put it on the record and commend staff for that. So now that I've put that on the record, I'd like to present our city attorney, who's going to go over a few items, the referendums in question, and give a detailed synopsis of where the city is headed in the April elections. Thank you, Madam City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you everyone for being here. So if we can pull up the presentation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the actual language of each of the questions and what the effect of each one will be if it is approved. So the first question is amending the charter to change the city's election date to coincide with national elections. Shall the city charter be amended to change the month and day when the city of Coral Gables holds its general elections from April of each odd year to the date of the national election in November of each even year commencing in 2026, resulting in an approximately 4-month reduction of current elected officials' terms and adjustment of associated dates with the intention of increasing voter turnout and decreasing the cost of general elections. So if this question is approved by the voters, it would have the effect of amending a few sections of the city charter. The first section will be section 1 of our charter, which is titled Creation, Composition, Election, Terms, Vacancies, Qualifications. And that would change to indicate that the commissioners in groups 2 and 3 shall be elected at the general election to be held the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November 2026 at a general election every 4 years thereafter. And moreover, the commissioners in groups 4 and 5 shall be elected the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November 2028 and general election each 4 years thereafter. The mayor shall be elected at each general election beginning the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November 2026 for a term of 2 years and at a general election every 2 years thereafter. Section 1.1 of the charter, which is the section on runoff elections, would also be amended to indicate that a runoff would be held 4 weeks after the general election. So instead of the current 2 weeks after the general election, will be 4 weeks after, and the mayor and commissioners would take office at noon on the 5th Friday after the general election. Currently, it says the 3rd, so it would be the 5th Friday. Section 3 would also be amended. The title of that one is Election to Office, Commission as Judge of Qualifications, Requirements, Ballots, Canvassing. Move what? I'm sorry. No, I'm still in the first question. This one question would modify a few sections of the charter. No, it's okay. And qualifying periods. And so this section would be amended to indicate that the qualifying period would coincide with the qualifying period for election to county office as specified in Florida statute section 99.061, which is any time after noon on the 71st day prior to the state's primary election, but not later than noon on the 67th day prior to the state's primary election. It would still be a 4-day qualifying period. The second ballot question. Amending the charter to prohibit further changes to the election date via ordinance. This one is, shall the city charter be amended to prohibit changing the city's municipal general election date away from November of even numbered years through the adoption of an ordinance by the city commission insofar as that prohibition is not in conflict with state law? So if this question is approved by the voters, it would amend the city charter. It would amend section 1, which is the election section, to add a provision that to the extent not in conflict with state law, the date of the general election shall not be changed by ordinance to a date away from November. This is the third ballot question. Allowing commissioners or officials to remove board members prior to the expiration of their term. Shall the city charter be amended to allow the city commissioner or appointed official who appointed a member to a city board or committee to remove that member from that position prior to the expiration of their term for any reason, insofar as that removal is not in conflict with state law? So if this question is approved by the voters, it would have the effect of amending section 26 of the charter, which is advisory boards, authority of commission to appoint. And that would be amended to add to the existing language that provides that members of boards and commissioners and committees may be removed at any time by a majority vote of the commission, that they could also be removed by the appointing elected or appointed official with or without cause, subject to any state requirements for particular boards. The fourth question, requiring a decennial review of the city charter. So this question reads, shall the city charter be amended to require that the city commission convene a charter review committee every 10 years, beginning in 2035, to review the charter and provide recommendations on potential amendments, with the committee consisting of 7 members with the commissioners and city manager, each appointing a resident of the city and the city attorney appointing a current or former municipal or county attorney. If this question is approved by the voters, section 26 of the city charter, which is the one on the boards and committees, would be amended to add that beginning in 2035, the city commission shall convene a charter review committee every 10 years in order to provide recommendations to the city commission on potential amendments to the city charter. The committee shall consist of 7 members. Each city commissioner and the city manager shall appoint 1 member who is a resident of the city. The city attorney shall appoint 1 member who shall be a current or former municipal or county attorney. The fifth question, authorizing a contracted inspector general as needed for the city of Coral Gables. The question is, shall the city charter be amended to authorize a contract with Miami-Dade County or a private entity to provide Inspector General services as needed to the city to investigate, audit, and oversee municipal matters in order to identify efficiencies and investigate and prevent fraud, waste, mismanagement, and abuse of power, and who can subpoena witnesses and require production of documents, and whose appointment, term, functions, and powers shall be established by ordinance. So if this question is approved by the voters, the city charter would be amended to add a new section 34H, which would be titled Inspector General. And that section will provide: the commission is authorized as needed to appoint through contract with Miami-Dade County Inspector General or with a private entity through a process further established by ordinance and Inspector General. The Inspector General shall have the power to investigate, audit, review, and oversee municipal matters in order to identify efficiencies and investigate and prevent fraud, waste, mismanagement, and abuse of power, and subpoena witnesses and require the production of documents. The Inspector General's appointment, term, functions, authority, and powers shall be further established by the City Commission in an ordinance and in an executed agreement with Miami-Dade County Office of Inspector General or private entity as approved by the City Commission. So the sixth question, requiring a vote of the electors prior to changing the compensation of city elected officials. Shall the city charter be amended to require that any change to the compensation of the city's elected officials beyond the annual adjustment to compensation based on the consumer price index as set forth in the code requires an affirmative vote of the electors prior to adoption by the City Commission? So if this question is approved by the voters, Section 7 of the city charter, which currently reads, the commission may, by ordinance, provide for the compensation of its members, including the mayor, and for allowance of travel and office expenses. That would be amended to add any changes to the compensation of the commission after April 21st, 2026, beyond the annual increases in compensation for elected officials tied to the annual increase in the CPIW for urban wage earners and clerical workers from the preceding July as set forth in the city code, shall require a vote of the electors prior to adoption by the City Commission. So the seventh question, an amendment eliminating the runoff election in City Commission and mayoral races. So presently the city charter, this is the question, I'm sorry. Presently, the city charter requires a runoff between the two candidates with the highest vote totals where no candidate received a majority, 50% plus one, in the general municipal election. Should the runoff provision be eliminated so that a mayor or commissioner may be elected with a plurality vote, the most votes, even if this does not constitute a majority, understanding that the runoff would be eliminated regardless of when general elections are held? If this question is approved by the voters, Section 1.1, runoff election would be completely removed from the city charter, so there would no longer be a runoff election. The ballot question number 8, fund reserve policy and expenditure of general fund reserves. The question is, shall the city charter be amended to require that the city maintain a general fund reserve at 25% of the city's operating budget, and that a 4/5 vote of the City Commission is required to otherwise amend the fund reserve policy adopted in ordinance number 2025-05, or to expend funds from the general fund reserve, except in those emergency situations outlined in the ordinance? So if this question is approved by the voters, Section 20 of the city charter, which is titled Unappropriated Accruing Revenues and Unexpended Balances, would be amended to add general fund reserves to the title and to add the following provision. The city shall maintain the classifications of fund balance adopted in ordinance number 2025-05, which codified the city's fund balance and reserve policy. The general fund reserve shall be maintained at 25% of the city's total operating expense and debt service budget. Any amendment to the fund balance and reserve policy, excluding the general fund reserve 25% requirement, and any expenditure of the general fund reserve other than those funds authorized to be spent pursuant to emergency powers of the city, as authorized in the charter or code, shall require a supermajority 4/5 vote of the City Commission. So Mayor, that's all of the questions. Gone through all 8 of them.
Okay, thank you very much. I wanted to lay the groundwork, obviously, with our city attorney who helped craft that legislation, these referendums, to move them forward, so everybody understands that they're very clear and put them on the record. Laura, I'd like to now put on the video while we wait for Alina Garcia.
I'm Alina Garcia, your Miami-Dade Supervisor of Elections. The city of Coral Gables is conducting a mail ballot election, and I want to explain what that means for you. In this election, every registered voter in Coral Gables will automatically receive a ballot by mail. There will be no in-person voting, no early voting, and no election day polling places. This election includes ballot questions only, allowing voters to weigh in directly on important city matters. There are no candidates elected during mail ballot elections. Once you receive your ballot, vote on your ballot, sign the voter certificate envelope, and importantly, include your residential address. You may return it by mail or deliver it in person to Miami-Dade Supervisor of Elections headquarters in Doral. Instructions are included with your ballot. Mail ballot elections are safe, secure, and reliable. Thank you for participating in Coral Gables local democracy. Hello, Coral Gables voters. I'm Alina Garcia, your Miami-Dade Supervisor of Elections, with a few important reminders to make sure your vote counts during the mail ballot election. When completing your ballot, sign the voter certificate envelope and include your residential address. Both are required. Your ballot must be received by 7 p.m. on election day. Please remember, postmarks do not count. If you need a replacement ballot, you must request one in writing. A request can be made anytime prior to 7 p.m. on election day. However, the deadline to request a replacement mail ballot to be mailed to you is by 5 p.m. on the 12th calendar day prior to the election. If there is a signature issue, you may be able to fix it by submitting a cure affidavit with identification. The cure affidavit, along with a copy of your identification, must be completed and submitted no later than 5 p.m. on the second day after the election. However, please be aware there is no cure available if the complete residential address is not provided in the designated box on the voter certificate. Receiving a ballot for this Coral Gables election does not enroll you in vote by mail for future elections. Thank you for helping to keep our elections secure. And let's go vote, Coral Gables.
Perfect. I didn't know we had a third one. All right, while we wait for our supervisor elections and our county commissioners who are not arrived yet, we're going to open it up to the floor so we can take advantage of the next hour that we have to make sure that we can get all the questions from all the residents and business owners that are here. If you'd like to speak, we welcome you to please come to the podium and please ask your question. Don't be shy. While we wait, Madam Vice Mayor, would you like to say anything in regards to the referendums or anything you'd like to put on the record?
I mean, I just, one of the questions I would have had, you know, if I was a resident sitting in your chair is, why is the item for the runoff included in part of this? And that is because the voter turnout has been so extremely dismal, and the cost is, you know, the same as doing the April elections that we do now. So you're talking about spending six figures for a runoff at an odd time. If we move the elections to November, we're talking about, and the city attorney would know best, I think about a December 9th or so runoff election. It's inconvenient. We have Thanksgiving in between, a lot of things like that. If we don't move the elections, the same result happens too, because people are traveling, it's spring break. You know, you have to worry about getting in your ballot on a very short notice. And I know that I made sure that I got my ballot in before I took off on a plane to go see my daughter out of town during that time period. So sometimes these runoffs just really don't work to the benefit of the community because you didn't get the result you wanted because you forgot to go to the runoff election, or you were busy and you were traveling, and we end up with a result that you didn't want. So that's one item that I wanted to make some comment on to you all. But if you have some questions, because there's some complex stuff on there, don't be shy, because that's what we're here for, to answer your questions.
Has everyone here received some mail at home in regards to this proposed referendums? Just want to make sure. Can you raise your hands? I want to make sure that everybody's receiving. Okay. We should have also, we sent out my newsletter that was put together by Laura and by Nicole, who are here, who are doing a great job. We also had a bunch of information there. We also, Martha Bantingas played a great role making sure that we have a website We have mail-in information that's going. We have items on the internet. So we're trying to inundate you with as much information so you can make a decision that you deem appropriate. So I ask you to please, let's take advantage and come up and please feel free. I know there's people have questions here and that have something to say. Anyone? Go ahead, sir. Come to the podium.
Hi, my name is Tom Wells. I live at 1310 Coral Way. As evidenced by my op-eds published in the Coral Gables Gazette, I'm going to vote no to moving the elections from April because local issues should be independent from politically tribal federal and state elections in November, and because a November election campaign will cost a local candidate much more money to compete with so many other political messages and provide a greater incumbency advantage to elected officials with name recognition, discouraging grassroots candidates that we've always had in Coral Gables, such as Mayor Dorothy Thompson, who in 1980 voted to save the Biltmore for preservation instead of high-density overdevelopment. And no to eliminating runoff elections because requiring a vote of 50% plus one is a hallmark of a popular democracy, requires a majority consensus rather than getting elected by a divided minority, and allows residents to pick another preferred candidate in runoff if they voted in the general election for somebody who did not make the runoff. Now, that was my pre-comments. Here are my three questions. In 2016, Mar-a-Lago approved a November referendum vote by voting by mail, in-person early and election day voting, and drop-off ballots at the library rather than vote by mail only option. He did that per the transcript because the city would save over $100,000. November voting cost $20,000, and the 2016 vote by mail would have cost $125,000. With the increase in postage costs from 2016 to 2026, the cost is going to be around $150,000. Almost 23,000 residents cast votes in 2016 referendum. If saving money and increasing turnout is a benefit for voting in November, why is this upcoming referendum limited to vote by mail only in April? Second question is that with the 2016 referendum, Mar-a-Lago was in favor of voting on local issues in April, per the transcript. So my question is, if your position changed from voting in April to November, what has the city done since 2013 to encourage, educate, and engage voters to increase the turnout? The third question, this is more of a city attorney question. The second referendum is it prohibits changing the city's municipal general election date away from November of even years through an ordinance. Why does this referendum only prevent changing a November election date by ordinance? And does this imply that an April election date can be changed by ordinance? Thank you. If you need me to repeat the questions, I'll be glad to.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Would you like to?
So as to Mr. Wells's third question regarding the second referendum, so that was the question that the commission approved. And it was let me just pull up the language so I don't say it wrong. I want to be factual. Shall the charter be amended to prohibit changing the city's municipal general election date away from November of even numbered years through the adoption of an ordinance by the city commission insofar as that prohibition is not in conflict with state law? So correct, that if that question is approved, that would go into the charter. And if there is a November election, it cannot be moved to the extent that would be allowed. It cannot be moved by ordinance away from a November election.
Okay. In regards to the cost, Mr. Wells is wrong. Again, I would like to agree with him, but then we would both be wrong. The numbers are as follows. The April election cost is $125,000. This is from staff. It's not $150,000. A November election cost is $20,000. So the change will save $105,000 per election. Number one, I will not be afraid to go before more voters. Mr. Wells wants less voters. He wants an election which has 5,000 or 6,000 voters. That way they can suppress the vote and control the election. What I want to do is put my reputation and my resume, which is available at votevincelago.com, everything I've done, the good, the bad, and the ugly. and put it up against 30,000 people who come out to vote. There's 31,000 registered voters. When I'm on the ballot, it's a proven fact, there's almost 11,000 people that come out to vote. When I'm not, as you're aware, in the election where Melissa Castro and Ariel Fernandez were elected, Rip Holmes came before the commission and said, Ariel Fernandez convinced me to get off the ballot and not run against Vince Lago because then I would be able to lower the amount of voter turnout. He said that at the commission. So if you want less voters and you want less democracy, then we have an April election. But why do the majority of cities in Miami-Dade County have November elections? Why? Why? Because it saves money and because it's good for democracy. So I agree with Mr. Wells on that point. Let's not be afraid of our democracy. And as the son of immigrants who came to this country with nothing, leaving the Castro dictatorship, 67 years. My father and my grandfather, who both lived in Coral Gables. My grandfather, when he died in Coral Gables, and so did my grandmother, struck fear in me about not following the Constitution, about not caring for our democracy. So to me, I think your idea is an assault on our democracy to have less voters. Why didn't I, like other cities, decide to extend my term by 2 years, like you saw other municipalities do? Because I don't think that's correct for our democracy. So in this instance, like the city attorney said, we will be shaving 4 months and change from my term and from the term of all the elected officials. That is the right thing to do. That is the ethical thing to do. So in regards to costs, Mr. Wells, again, spreads misinformation. The numbers are very, very clear. Very, very clear. You had the city attorney respond to you. You should never be afraid to go before more voters. Please, this idea that has been used before by certain individuals that are here, which says quality over quantity. Every vote is quality. Every vote that is cast is essential for our democracy. By having less voters, we're putting our democracy at risk. By having less people involved in the process, we're putting our democracy at risk. They would prefer that because when you have less voters, you suppress the amount of people that come out because people are on vacation, people have their own lives that they're living. So why not make it when there's a general election, for example, an election for governor, where you know everyone comes out, for president, to support their senator or their congressman. So at the end of the day, you should not be in fear of going before the voters. Next question. Yeah. Mr. Wells, Mr. Wells, Mr. Wells, Mr. Wells. One of the issues that before the vice mayor speaks, one of the issues is, as you're aware, as an attorney, there has to be decorum. You cannot be screaming. You had more than ample time to respond, to speak. If you'd like to have another question, we can do that later after everyone speaks. But speaking from the grandstands is not Coral Gables.
So because I brought one of these items for moving the election to November a number of years ago, before we did this recent ballot item, I have to explain to you why I felt that this was necessary, because I was a history buff, and anything that suppresses the vote, whether it's a poll tax or making it inconvenient for folks to vote, I think is not democratic. And that's why I support moving the election to November. I remember people speaking during that item when I called it a number of years ago, begging, because one lady was holding a child on her hip and just saying, I vote, but please just make it easier so it doesn't take so much time. And I think that's what we need to do for folks.
Thank you. And by the way, I'd like to give credit to my city clerk that said, he reminded me, the city began offering early voting in 2021 in an effort to increase turnout. And in 2023 was not available. 2013, it was not available. So I just want to be very clear on the record. Madam Commissioner, please join us.
Oh, you want me to join you over there?
Yes, of course.
Oh my gosh.
I'd like to welcome our commissioner, which I already gave a very warm welcome to. Thank you so much.
You. Okay.
Would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight at the Town Hall. Mayor, this is a wonderful initiative. Thank you for doing this for our residents. This is exactly what we want to see as our city coming together and giving us feedback so that we can make your community, shape it to exactly what you would like it to be. And I'm always here. My door is always open to the residents, to the city. I'm very proud to represent Coral Gables on the County Commission, on the Miami-Dade County Commission. We have mobile office hours on the fourth Monday of every month here in Coral Gables. We were at City Hall, but now we're at 234 Menorca at the same building where the commission offices and the mayor's office will be relocating. So, like I said, I'm here to assist you in any issue, any matter that you have for Miami-Dade County, and I'm so proud to represent the city beautiful in Miami-Dade County. Thank you so much, Mayor, for the recognition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to give a little credit. The manager and the commissioner of District 6, Natalie Orbis, just recently negotiated an extension for 1 to 2 years for our transfer station that they were using as a piece of property that we own outside the city limits. It's a very beneficial negotiation for the city and also for the county. It's on tomorrow's agenda if you'd like to read about that. And we were also able to secure something that we didn't have, thank you to her leadership, and that is a 5-acre parcel a little further away. And that's an insurance policy. That insurance policy is going to be used in case for a hurricane that we have an area where we can do some mulching, we can do some staging, just in case we have a natural disaster or hurricane of some sort. So I want to thank the county commissioner for leading on that front with our city manager and truly delivering on a lot of the things that you don't see. You know, you don't see these things that, again, are not buildings, but these type of negotiations are critically important. Just to give you an idea, the county was paying us $50,000 a month in rent to use this property. Now the county will be paying us almost $150,000. So for the next 2 years a month. And then we also have that piece of property, which is incredibly important. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, for those of you who don't know me, I used to be the vice mayor in the city of West Miami. So I come from a small city and I know exactly how these little differences can make a long-term change and a long-term positive impact on a city's financially and also just in how you handle your day-to-day business and how we deliver for our residents. So since the moment I got into the county commission, I've been pushing for that. I want to make sure that contract is in the best interest of the city, of your residents, to be able to deliver as far as, you know, solid waste. And I'm happy that we were able to work out the mulching center down south. And I'm looking forward to a fruitful relationship between the county and the city as we move forward. So thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you. The next question. Anybody have a question? Yes, ma'am. Please come to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioner. I really don't have a question. I do have a statement. I think that, number one, thank you for having these meetings. I think it's important that we, the community, are given a voice and given ears also to listen to. So I really appreciate that. I also think it's very important, given the climate that we've had here in the city of Coral Gables for the last couple of years, that people are not afraid to stand up and to speak against false information. But I think it's also important to educate or spread the information that we do have. So in regards to the issue that was just brought up about elections in November, I've stated this before publicly, but last year there was a bill in Tallahassee to move all elections, all municipal elections to November. So very important to note that. The bill ultimately failed, but if you're familiar with Tallahassee, and I spent a lot of time up there during session, it takes several sessions for a bill to actually pass into law. The bill was filed by Senator DeSigli, and he did say that he was going to file it again. Ultimately, he didn't file it again, and my understanding is because so many cities like Coral Gables, locally we could say North Miami, are moving in that direction anyway. So, you know, if there's not enough cities moving that way on their own, I do believe that that bill will be back next session. Thank you.
Thank you. And like I mentioned before, well over 25 cities in Miami-Dade County out of the 34 have their elections in November. It's a no-brainer on multiple different fronts. Anyone else, please? Don't be shy. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Go ahead. Enjoy. Oh, go ahead.
Just a quick question. Is there any way we can eliminate all of those people standing outside the library, accosting you when you're trying to vote, taking up all the parking spaces so there's no, you have to circle around and around, throwing paper all over the place. Is there some way that we could eliminate that sort of thing when we're voting?
Well, that's our democracy. At the end of the day, there are rules that have to be abide by. I know that obviously when Ms. Garcia, our supervisor of elections, gets here, she can delve further into that. But there are limits in regards to the interaction that can transpire in between candidates, workers, employees, volunteers, and individuals that are coming to vote. So I'll let the supervisor of elections touch on that, but I think our hands are tied on that front. Anyone else? Anyone else? Mr. Cabrera.
Morning, Mayor. Or good afternoon, Mayor. I'm so used to saying good morning. So good afternoon, Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, Commissioner. Thank you for doing this today. Madam City Attorney. I'd like to try to clear the record on something here. I actually have in front of me a copy of the ordinance on first reading from May 6th of 2025. The brief history at the bottom, and I can make this easy for people to access if they wish to talk to me afterwards. I can send this to them. It says the proposed ordinance would change the date of the general election from April 13th, 2027 to November 3rd, 2026, and change the date of all subsequent elections to November of even years. This change would also reduce the existing, all everything that we would have to do to make the adjustments for the commissioners. At the bottom, this is the important part. At the bottom, it says the proposed ordinance also calls for a special election to be held at a later date to send a question to the electors of the city to affirm the change in election date. That's what we're doing now. That's what this special election ballot is for in April. I'd like to clear the air because there was a lot of accusations, claims that this was never going to be voted on by the electorate. But evidence shows right here on May 6th of 2025 that it was always intended to go to the voters. So for the residents who feel that at one time they weren't going to get the opportunity to vote on this and affirm this change, could you kind of clear that up for us a little bit?
Do you want to?
I think that was the commission's intention.
It was always the commission's intention. That's my question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I just remember, I just saw that there was a lot out there that they said that this was not legal and that they were doing it without allowing the voters to decide.
So
but there's evidence right here.
Because you're asking a question and I want to add a little more color to that.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to put you on the spot. Who was saying it's not legal?
I mean, most of the time it was online blogs and
Like who?
Political Cortadito, opponents of the election change.
Okay, so as you see, the District 6 Commissioner, she shook her head. She's a lady. I'll answer and I'll tell you, look, guys, this is pay for play. You pay the blogs, you pay the Gazette, the gentleman standing right here. You pay the money, and they'll write good about you. You don't pay them, they'll write bad about you. Am I right or wrong?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Your county commissioner telling you right here. Absolutely. I have been contacted and told, if you pay me $500 a month, I will write good about you and I'll stop writing about you. I'm not paying an extortion fee. This gentleman here with the glasses is an extortionist. The Coral Gables Gazette is the second iteration of the Gables Insider. It was built at the same time as the Felix Pardo campaign. And if you read the Aesop's Gables, they give you the entire breakdown of how it's done. Yes, I'm being harsh, I'm being honest, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. If you're going to write an opinion piece, put your name on it. If you're going to say something, put your name on it. Put your name on it. It's very simple and very easy to take shots at an elected official when you're being paid for it. He doesn't like it at the end of the day, but I will continue to speak the truth. I will continue. I will not stop. Elected officials have two options. You either go along to get along and you pay the extortion fee, or you battle on these issues and you stand by your record. And that's what I've done. So I'm not willing to engage on that. And I'm sorry to put you on the record and put you on the hot seat, but it's important because, they get away with this idea where they, they say these things, they smear you, and then there's no one's held accountable.
I believe in accountability, Mayor, and I apologize for stopping and speaking again, but I believe in accountability, and that's why I came up here today. I just wanted to read on the record the ordinance as it was first written, and it was clear there that this was always intended to go to a vote of the electorate to affirm this change. And so I've said it before, and I feel like it's fallen on deaf ears, but I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to say it. And like I said before, if anybody wants a copy of this ordinance, I have it here saved on my phone. You can find me. I'll email it to you. I'll text it to you. But it's important for us to know the facts, and facts are not subjective. So thank you very much.
So I'm going to give you one example for the record here. Madam City Attorney, and I apologize, a referendum, which is the one that deals with the IG.
That one is number, give me one moment. Number 5.
Number 5. This is a very important referendum. Referendum deals with the Inspector General. Okay, the keywords here are as needed. We're not hiring somebody to be internal. That's going to cost the city hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's going to be as needed. The keyword as needed. So if it's as needed, we will call that individual, whether it be the vice mayor may have an issue, I may have an issue, one of my colleagues in the commission may have an issue, a resident may have an issue, a city employee may have an issue, a business may have an issue, and they will go and speak with the IG, and they'll start an investigation or a matter under review. When at the last elections, you saw the outcome of the last elections, 3 members of the commission, Kirk Menendez, Ariel Fernandez, and Melissa Castro, were screaming that there's corruption in the city, corruption, corruption, corruption. I said, perfect. I brought before the commission the opportunity to hire an inspector general immediately on the spot. The words were, it is too expensive to hire an inspector general. This was after they had raised their salaries almost to the tune of $300,000. And I said, so it's okay to raise your salaries, but you don't have an inspector general. Let me be clear. There is no price that you can put on stopping corruption. So I put this item on the agenda, and like I said before, if there's corruption in the city, we have to stamp it out immediately. And I don't have no issue starting with my office. So the sad part about it is that we have become hyper politicized here in the city. I never saw that the first 10 years that I was here, when I was on the commission with incredibly dignified and classy people where we disagreed on issues based on policy. We didn't bring in people's families or use blogs to tear people down and destroy people. So this is being put forth to be considered by the voters in an effort to have you say whether you want elections in November, whether you want an inspector general as a safety valve or as needed, along with the other 6 referendums. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to ask another question for you so you can have a little more background. Why do we need a 25% reserve on our budget? Because if we want our streets cleaned up after a large hurricane, we need a 25% reserve. It also can handle 2 smaller hurricanes. The last thing we want to be doing is going to the bank to borrow money, which will cost a lot of money in the meantime. So we don't want a commission in the future that's going to spend our reserve money on items that we should be saving money for and planning in our capital improvement budget. It's just mismanagement of the budget. It's mismanagement of the residents' money. And I have to credit the city manager for teaching me all this, because I didn't know it as a resident before I got elected, but he was a very good professor. So thank you.
So to answer also, besides the IG and the 25% reserve, I also put that item to be considered. Why is that important? Why I recommend that you vote yes on that? Because when Ariel Fernandez and Melissa Castro were elected, it's just public record. You can see this in the commission. One of the first things they said was, let's tap into the reserves. Let's spend that 25%. When I got here, as the city manager can attest, we were nowhere near 25%. I wrote legislation that required that our budget have 25% in restricted reserves. So as our budget goes up, our reserves have to go up. So that is a requirement. We're one of 3 cities in the state of Florida that have a triple bond rating. And since I got here 13 years ago, our unfunded liabilities were at 51%. And through the hard work of our staff, the manager, our finance department, the boards, we're almost up to 80%. With a 13th check that we give every year, and last year was $9.5 million of additional money that is not required by law to give. And this year, 2 years ago was $9.5 million, last year was $7.5 million, because we took away $2 million to pay for the COLA. So my point is this: these referendums have a reason why they're here. They're to protect the city, because if you have reckless people that get into office and raise their salary by 25%, or fire a competent manager, or say they're going to spend the reserves, you can become like any other city very quickly, spending those reserves. Another point that Mr. Wells made that was incorrect again, and I want to thank staff for reminding me. We do extensive outreach in regards to elections when the elections are in April. We send out emails. We send notifications telling people to go out and vote. And even with that, it's abysmal. It's abysmal. And you can see it because the records are there. The last election had the one before mine, the one that Ariel and Melissa were elected, had 6,900 voters that went out to vote versus 11,000 when I'm on the ballot. So my point is that these are all quality referendums, and I think they should be supported. And we're here to answer any other questions. Anything else before we go to, yes, sir. Joe, come on up.
Hi, good afternoon,
Good afternoon, sir.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, everybody else on that. My question has to do with what kind of a turnout do you guys anticipate from this mail-in referendum? Do you have any idea?
Well, I don't have any idea personally. I don't have a crystal ball, but I'd hope that we would have, 80% of all the registered voters here in the city. It's going to be very tough, but I mean, that's my goal. But I think maybe 50% around that, which by the way, which would be much more than double than what we normally get from an April election.
I commend you on putting this up to the voters, these items.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Joe. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Up to the podium. Feel free to jump in if you want to say.
Mrs. Maria Cruz, 1447 Miller Road. Not everybody has given names or addresses. I guess they're not needed. I just have a simple comment. I'm sitting here taking notes, and all of a sudden I heard you say that when you were talking about the referendum questions, that we would become like any other city. That's a good argument. But yet, when you talked about moving the election to November, the big significant point was so many other cities have changed to November. So for one thing, we don't want to be like every other city. For other things, we want to be like the other cities. I'm confused.
So in response, she's not confused. This is the continued effort to mislead and misguide, but obviously the last elections prove that there's no correcting the lack of understanding. When I said that we'll become like any other city, we'll become like any other city where we won't have 25% of reserves. Let's talk about that, okay? Right now, and I think that our county commissioner may chime in because she also has an opinion on this, and so does the vice mayor. Right now, at the state level, they're having serious conversations about reducing property taxes. Everybody wants reduced property taxes, correct? It's a great idea. Now, there are repercussions with that, massive repercussions. We don't know what is going to be the extent of the cuts. Nobody knows. We're looking at numbers, 100 million, $75 million in reduction in revenue. That will impact our services massively. So when you talk about becoming like any other city, you're talking about multiple different fronts. We like our garbage picked up in the rear, correct? We like trash pits. We like our recycling in certain bins. We like our trees. We like to have 7 maintenance crews. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Manager, Mr. DCM, 7 maintenance crews throughout the city, trimming trees on a continual basis. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Manager, the county only has 1, correct? How many tree trimming crews does the county have currently right now? 2. Here in the city, we have 7. Okay. And I can keep going and going and going. So I don't want to become like any other city. But if we do lose money from Tallahassee, I want to make sure that we have a healthy reserve. And when I got here, the manager will tell you that we had about $20 million in reserves. We are the envy of every city in Miami-Dade County for having 25% of our reserve. We have over $60 million in cash. That money, like the vice mayor mentioned, was used in the last hurricane. We did not have to go out like many other cities did to go to the bank and get a credit line, which they're still paying for. Because by the way, it took 7 to 8 years to get refunded on the money that we spent for that hurricane. So think about how much you would spend in interest over the 7, 8 years if you got something right now that was, if you got a credit line or an equity line that's right now at 6 or 7%, you'd be spending millions of dollars. So it's very easy to take the easy the easy route. You know what? I'm gonna do it next commission meeting. I'm gonna proffer, and I can't speak about it here because it'll be a sunshine violation. And my attorney's gonna get mad, but I'm gonna spend and deplete our reserves because I want immediate gratification on projects instead of budgeting. We never did that. For 10 years with Kurdike, with Quesada, with Mena, with Keon, with Force, you know, with people who had served in this community, it was always about budgeting appropriately. Raul Valdez-Fowley, Don Slesnik, Kaysen. It was about 4 or 5 year approach. Let's budget, not spend from reserves. Why would you want to spend from reserves? Why would you even say that in public and scare people like that? By the way, we have the second lowest millage rate for a full service city in Miami-Dade County. Pinecrest just raised their millage rate. Why? With all due respect to Pinecrest, why did they raise their millage rate? And I'll tell you why. Because they assumed projects that were coming in with debt. And like I said before, and I was mocked and ridiculed by the woman that was here before, winter is coming and winter is here. And I'll tell you why it's here. 3 years ago, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Manager, our property values went up 10.5%. 2 years ago, they went in about 8%, correct? Last year, they were at 5%. So we're going negative. We're going down in regards to property value increases. On average, Mr. Manager, how much do property values have to go up so we can pay for increases in insurance, healthcare, cost of labor negotiations? What would you say, sir? So we're teetering on basically just breaking even with the property values that are coming in. He said 4 to 5%. So what do we have to do? We have to be very careful with our finances. If we continue paying down our unfunded liabilities like we've been doing for the last 13 years, the manager will tell you that we should have our unfunded liabilities paid off between 7 to 8 years. That is a sense of pride as a city. Imagine walking away and saying, I'm not going to spend those extra $9.5 million a year. I'm going to take money from our reserves because I want to do all these projects. I'm not going to budget accordingly. I'll look like a hero, but I'll bankrupt the city. And when I took office, I'll never forget sitting in the manager's office and saying, our pension is the second worst funded pension in the state of Florida. We're at 51%. What do you plan to do about it? Jim Kaysen took the lead, and that year we put an additional 13 check of $500,000, and we built it up year after year after year, going as high as $9.5 million. That's a sense of pride. That's what we need to do on behalf of our employees, protecting their pensions. So it's very easy to say, do this and do that and spend here and spend that. That's why I built these referendums. That's why I put these before the voters, to ensure that you make the decision whether I deserve a salary increase. Not just not just die 101% salary increase in the budget and then say, act like you didn't. Why is that in the budget? Why is that in the budget? And then you basically force the vice mayor and myself to vote against the budget. That's disrespectful to the voters. Oh, sorry. Yes, ma'am.
So while you're walking up, and you can walk up, come on, I'm going to add a little, some additional pieces because I've gone up to Tallahassee twice this session and spoke with our representatives. A couple things came out. One, the millage rate increases by other cities was part of the reasoning for looking to eliminate property taxes completely, except for school taxes, because that's the proposal that came out of the House. The other thing that's come out during the years that I've been in office is that we have a lot of respect in Tallahassee because of our reserves, because we haven't increased our millage rate, because we have a triple bond rating and we manage the budget well. In fact, I don't think this property tax elimination probably would have come to fruition if other cities had managed the same way we've had. So back in September of 2023, I did a presentation before the commission showing just how much it would have cost if we would have spent the reserves. And it was billions of dollars in lost interest. It was millions of dollars interest on our reserves that we use in the budget and interest that we'd be paying out. So it was very, very costly if we had done that. So you're on.
Good afternoon.
What's your name, your address, so we get that straight?
Nestor Menendez, 6611 Riviera Drive. So a little bit further on this point, I I know the Charter Review Committee, I sit on the Charter Review Committee and we discussed the 25%.
But you're here just as a resident today, just make.
I'm just as a resident, correct, correct. We discussed the 25% and just for the record, I did vote against it because it was thoroughly discussed that we didn't know what Tallahassee was going to do and we were afraid that we were, there was a potential situation not too far down the road that we may need to dive into the reserves. So I guess my question is knowing what's going on in Tallahassee right now, does the city have a plan in the case that cuts do come and revenue is decreased?
Well, first and foremost, with this referendum that deals with the 25% reserve, there is a clause that states that the manager can exercise in an emergency. So there are options like that, number one. Number two, we don't know exactly what's happening 100% in Tallahassee. It's still being negotiated in back rooms. We're hoping that they're very prudent, use a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. So we're trying to find out as much information as possible. I just spoke to Senator Avila a few moments ago before I walked in here, and we were talking about everything that's being negotiated at the present moment. But I foresee that there will be action taken. Hopefully the universe will be small. I know that upsets certain people. I understand that. But I also have to protect our way of life at the end of the day. There are people who are very deserving, especially our seniors, our disabled, our veterans, of property tax relief. While many may get upset, I think people who are in their 40s and 50s and working should not receive property tax relief. I think that is, in my opinion, could be very dangerous to our quality of life, and we have to be very, very careful. We have to be very careful. I think a person who has worked in this community for 40 years, has their property paid off, has lived in that home, again, is disabled, is taking care of a disabled person, is a veteran, is over a certain age. I think that they should be entitled to owning their property outright and not paying property taxes. I think that should be heavily considered, and I would vote in favor of that. Obviously, that universe would significantly close, and the impact would be significantly less. But I have to be very careful on that. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to add to that that's an item that the voters would vote on as well.
Yep.
Just like we've had additional exemptions that were approved for veterans in the past, this will go on another ballot, if Tallahassee chooses to vote for it.
Well, just to follow up, the question still stands. Is there a plan in case that does come down? Is some services?
Can I answer? Let me answer that for you. Okay. There is not a plan right now. We have had many discussions with the city manager and the DCM and the city attorney and the city clerk and the ACM who's here and staff. Okay. As a matter of fact, I have a meeting, and maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but I'll put it anyways on the record. I have a meeting forthcoming. It's coming next week, where I'm going to be analyzing all contracts with the city manager and DCM and our finance team. All contracts in the city are going to be analyzed in preparation. Right now, we're being very prudent. I don't want to give too many details because we're in negotiations. We're being very prudent in regards to our negotiations with our labor contracts right now. I had multiple meetings with the manager in regards to that. I know that I have to be careful because I know that my city attorney is shaking right now because we're talking about things that we should not be possibly discussing as a result of sunshine. We're being very careful and very thoughtful on that front. But I will tell you one thing. I'd rather be in the position we're in than other cities. I'd rather be in a position where we have $60 million in cash. That's why when Amos Rojas was here, I was very clear, and I said, and the vice mayor also said, don't hire 20 plus people in one day, in 1 year. Don't do it. The impact is catastrophic. What do? They hired 20 people in 1 year. I'm going to have the manager answer for you. Mr. Manager, on average, how many people have we hired over the last 10 years? New hires, brand new positions. How many people?
We don't hire more than 5 or 6 people a year.
Yeah.
Normally, and we look at that very, very closely because headcount is a continuing cost, and we're very careful.
So what the manager said, we don't hire more than 5 or 6 new positions a year because headcount is a continuing cost, which is not only salary, it's also benefits. What they did in 1 year was they hired over 20 plus people. You can see the vice mayor and myself were opposed to that. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very nimble. Right now is the time to put your head down and be very careful. Be very careful how you spend, both in the private and the public sector. So I'd rather be in the position we're in right now, where we have a healthy reserve, where we've paid down our unfunded liabilities, where we haven't had to compromise in regards to service. But if the cuts are deep, I want to be honest with you, we're gonna have to find the money somewhere. And like I said before, I asked everyone to look this up. Pinecrest had to raise taxes because they took out bond debt. They took out bond debt for projects, and they didn't have the necessary increase in property values to cover that. So what do? They raise the taxes. Madam Commissioner?
Well, I wanted to address something that the previous resident came up to say about being like other cities. As far as the elections, I think it's prudent to move to November because, and you may have spoken about this before I got here, but you most certainly achieve a cost savings if you are in the same election cycle as the county and other cities. And the supervisor election, the office is here, so I'm sure they can speak to that as well. But and not only do you achieve a cost savings, but you ensure that a greater number of the community turns out to participate in the elections, which is something that you certainly want. So, and, I wish we had this mandate with the 25% at the county because we would probably have avoided a lot of the deficit issues that we've had in the last year. So I think it's a good idea.
Madam Commissioner, how much would you say right now the county's reserves right now, percentage?
I believe it's about 10%.
So by the way, when thank you very much. That 25% was achieved over years of belt tightening and just putting away every year, to get to that 25%. Anyone else? Mr. Walls would like, and then we'll have you come up.
So thank you. Very, very brief. So my question is about the cost of the referendum, not the cost of general elections. So the cost of the referendum in 2016 was vote by mail was $125,000, and postage has gone up since 2016. So why are we vote by mail referendum in April instead of a in-person vote in November? Because that was the decision you made in 2016. That was my first question, not the cost of general elections.
Let me answer you. Let me answer you. Okay,
Thank you.
First and foremost, this is a very simple, because I want to shave 4 months from my term. If we have the election in November and over 70% of individuals who are in favor of this, because I polled it, move the elections to November, guess what? I will be increasing my term by over 16 months. I don't want to do that. That's something that you may want to do, but that's not something that the residents have told me they're willing to accept. So at the end of the day, I'd rather have this referendum in April, move the elections to November of 2026, shave 4 months from my term, not extend my term by 16 months. I think that's the prudent and respectful thing for the residents.
For $130,000.
Again,
Okay,
but-
fair.
Again, Mr. Wells, I'm not here to argue with you. I'm not here to argue. My point is very simple.
Mhm.
This is an investment. That is good for the city. Because you will make that money up in just one election cycle. And I think it's a prudent thing to do. And I think it's appropriate to have 5 times more turnout than we usually have in an election. Remember, every vote counts. Every vote counts.
And then my third question was not whether or not what the referendum said, it was why we left out April from that second referendum. It only says that you can't change a November election via ordinance. And if that's not voted on, if it's voted no, does that mean that we can change other elections by ordinance? I just didn't understand why we didn't have all elections requiring vote by electors.
Okay,
Thank you.
First and foremost, the Vice Mayor made a good point. There's word limits. Would you like to respond to the
I think
word limits in regards to what we can put on the ballot?
that was the intention of the
Yep.
commission was that language, and that was a language that was approved by the city commission to have it, to have that particular question with those specific details in there.
Yep. So by the way, just to also give you an idea, the quote for Mr. Wells is wrong again. The quote received by, you're a lawyer. You can say those things online in chat groups, but you have to be very careful what you say here because you're in public. So the quote that is provided that was received from the supervisor elections for the special election was $80,000. That's over a 50% increase that you just said right now. So again, misinformation, which you're a master of, you spin things to misinform people, and you've got to get a grip of that because it's not good for you as a professional. So now let's talk about this. Let's talk about this very, very quickly. Okay. But if you're again, you're shouting from the grandstands, you have to respect democracy. You can't behave in that way. You're a lawyer, you're a professional. Conduct yourself like a professional. Don't embarrass yourself. You've already spoken twice and you already screamed twice from the grandstands. I know the Gazette's gonna cover you and take care of you and make sure they give you positive publicity, but you need to be professional. You have to be. So you see what you're seeing here right now? This is a prime example. Do not allow people in this community to guide the narrative in a way that misinforms people. It's not productive. It's not who we are as a community. We can disagree, but it has to be respectful. If you notice, everyone here has spoken once. Mr. Wells has spoken twice. And if nobody wants to speak again, we'll give Mr. Wells another crack of the apple. All right. Yeah, we'll all get online. You had mentioned something before. By the way, something that was mentioned as critical is I don't want to extend my term by 16 months. So that's why we're doing it now in April. If we wait till November and it's passed, then I will get a 16-month extension. Then I'll get screamed at for being a dictator, and extending my term by 16 months. And that's exactly what the Gazette and the blogs want. They want, he did that on purpose to extend his terms. That's not what I want. I want to reduce my term by 4 months because it's the prudent thing to do. Do we have anybody online, sir? Nobody? Anybody else?
There's something I'd like to.
Yes,
add,
ma'am.
Mayor.
Go ahead.
So I know the supervisor of elections, the office of supervisor of elections can probably give more information on this, but if we have a voter, even in our special mail ballot election, a voter with special needs that needs an accessible ballot, that is something that is available and they can request that. They can receive that via email, an accessible ballot. And I know that's something that the vice mayor had asked about before, and it's important for our residents to know that that is available.
So all the information that I've given you, for example, that the April election is $80,000. It's all the information that was given to me by the clerk. So you can request that information if you like from the clerk, and he can provide it for you. I want to give context to where it is. Okay, I want to make sure that. Anyone else, please ask a question. Please get up, come and get up. Don't be shy.
You're being shy.
Let's go. We want as many questions as possible, no matter what it is. By the way, it doesn't have to be about the referendum. If we've exhausted the referendums, let's speak about the city.
In fact, I'm not shy, but I do enjoy engaging here. So thank you very much for indulging me in a second question. My question is to Vice Mayor Anderson. Earlier, you said that you had been to Tallahassee twice this year, and I know the mayor has been up there. I've run into you in Tallahassee before, but I want you to elaborate on your comment because I think it's important for everybody to know why, if you're a city official, why is it that you go to Tallahassee? For what purpose? I think it's important for everybody to know that. And then, Mr. Mayor, if you could indulge my question. Also, the other question I have is, can you share with everybody what happened and how we were received as a city 2 years ago when the raises were given, how we were received? And again, Mayor Anderson, why you spoke on the respect that we receive as a city for having that 25% in reserve. I think it's important to elaborate on that, if you could answer that question.
So having the opportunity to meet with elected officials that are going to make decisions are monumental to our city, whether it's issues such as Airbnbs, the Live Local Act, solar panel issues, the tax issue. I mean, I had some very productive conversations with particular representatives about, what was homestead exemption when it first began. And if you do the present value of the dollar, what it would be, right now. So it's closer to, in excess of 150, 200,000. I really would have to do the calculation based upon knowing what the original year was. These are all very productive discussions. And I told them too that, while I'm 65 years old and I would appreciate having no property taxes, I really don't need it. What I would like to see is folks that are taking care of individuals with disabilities, who are homebound for a variety of reasons, but don't make that full qualification for fully disabled, who are struggling to be able to afford to maintain their homes. They need the property tax relief. And I also urge them to give insurance relief, because that is a bill that's even higher than the property taxes for some folks. So we don't want to be shoving people out of their homes as they get older because they can't afford to pay taxes anymore or insurance anymore. all these discussions can happen face to face and we can influence the decision-making process and bring to light things that they haven't thought about before. So, and include the fact that we have a triple bond rating, thanks to the belt tightening that you did for many, many years. Do you have anything to add to that, Mayor?
I do. Thank you very much. So I'm going to give you a little bit of more background, more color. You can look this up. It's on the commission. We've talked about it. 2 years ago, we got $0 after getting over $3 million in 2 consecutive go-arounds in regards to appropriations at the state of Florida. $0. The vice mayor was there. She talked to state reps and senators who told us, we're not giving you money. Because if you can raise your salary by 101%, you don't deserve money from Tallahassee. And we were given $0. Am I correct?
That plus the election issue. It was that plus the election issue and there was a third issue. I can't remember right now.
Yeah.
Oh, the reserves.
Yeah. So they found out that we were considering, not us, but that members of the commission were going to tap into the reserves, that they had raised their salaries by 101%. And the issue of the unfunded liability and things that, that they were also talking about not overfunding the pension. So they were going to start going in a different direction. They basically were very clear and they said that we will not provide you with appropriations from the state of Florida. And we ended up with $0. So we went from 3 million, 0, and now we're climbing back up again. But we paid a price for that behavior, and that is public record. We talked about it during the commission.
Thank you. That was my point, that you go up to Tallahassee to bring down funds, much needed funds for our city. And when we don't have that respect, we don't get the funding that we need. It hurts us all. And it's important that we keep those reserves so that we can continue getting the reserve. We can continue adding to that and also highlight the fact that, you're all doing a great service to the city. You meet once every 2 weeks, right? But in Tallahassee, they're up there 3 months at a time, 8 months out of the year, and they make $30,000. So it's a slap in the face for our state legislators when you come up here and you say, well, I had to give myself X amount of money in a raise while they're there week after week away from their families, making $30,000 a year to serve. So thank you again for indulging me and elaborating on that point.
Sir.
Thank you again, Mayor. I apologize, I did not introduce myself previously. Nicholas Cabrera, I reside at 45 Antia Avenue. Mayor, I have a very important question. What's your favorite color?
As you can tell, my favorite color is blue, gray, white, or black. That's what I wear.
I'm kidding. I had to take the opportunity. No, I actually, I want to give the city some credit. This past weekend was Carnival on the Mile. Fantastic event throughout downtown Coral Gables and Miracle Mile. Incredible work done by our community recreation department. They always do great events and work hand in hand with these private companies and nonprofits that do events in downtown Coral Gables. However, the reason I bring this up is because I saw thousands of people in Coral Gables this past weekend. But that's sometimes becoming a rarity. And I'm wondering what initiatives the city is taking, steps they're taking, strategy they're taking to try to bring business back to downtown Coral Gables. Now, the reason I say this is because you walk up and down Miracle Mile and you see business storefront closed. A lot of storefronts have orange wallpaper in the windows. They're not open. And I'm concerned about retention of businesses in our downtown corridor and what are some of the things that we're doing to try to bring more people to downtown Coral Gables, and what are some things that we're doing to try to bring businesses that will thrive and survive to downtown Coral Gables? I apologize, I'm transitioning to something else, but I had that.
No. Again, that's a great question. The downtown is the lifeblood of our community. 27% of our tax base comes from the downtown. When you add the apartments, it's about 40%. So it's a significant number. Without a vibrant downtown, we're in trouble. That tax base is sorely needed, especially if Tallahassee is going to cut from residential community. The commercial is going to be, our lifeblood even more. In regards to the downtown, I'm a purist in regards to business, and I believe less hands, less red tape. So the manager has been working on through George Duyos. We had a study that was done, consultant that came in. It's a public record. If you'd like to get your hands on it, that is going to revamp the permitting department. That's already started. We already have the money. It's not coming from the general fund. And we're going to revamp the entire permitting process in regards to hiring new staff and really making it world class. That's number one. Number two, I will have on the commission tomorrow a discussion on landscaping and cleanliness. I already met also, we have George Arisueta here from the Coral Gables Chamber. I presented before their chamber an opportunity to really address issues of cleanliness in the sidewalks, in the alleys, and landscaping that hasn't been changed in 25 years. We're also right now addressing the medians all the way to 8th Street, which are under construction. So that's a game changer also. 3 years ago, for the first time, I think in 20 years, we added new positions to the police department. So we have 15 new positions in the downtown. So you're no longer asking police officers to come from the residential neighborhoods into downtown to address issues. These police officers are solely dedicated to the downtown. So when you wrap that up, you're talking about beautification, you're talking about landscaping. I hope everybody liked the Christmas decorations this year. They were beautiful. I think they were a step up this year. Landscaping, cleanliness, public safety. But how do you bring the businesses back? How? So we extended our trolleys to Saturdays. The service is doing great. So now we're giving another additional transportation. We're extending hopefully freebie, which in my opinion is doing a good job. And we're looking for more opportunities to expand it. But there's only so much we can do. And I want to be honest with you. When somebody buys a piece of property in downtown and they pay an exorbitant amount of money, and Belky's looking at me, she's not sure what I'm about to say. And somebody pays an insane amount of money for a piece of property. They overpay for a property. They have to make money. So what Terra Nova does, which they have bought 13 properties. Don't worry, Belkys, we're not going to go off the rails here. We'll be fine. So what Terra Nova does, they bought 13 properties in downtown. And I am adamantly opposed to what they do. They tried to upzone the downtown to 10 stories, our Miracle Mile. I was adamantly opposed to it. And I paid the consequences 2 elections in a row by they raised hundreds of thousands of dollars against me. I will not upzone Miracle Mile. That is not the cure to the issue that we have. What we need to do is bring world-class tenants to the downtown. It's not just about, bringing in national brands like Victoria's Secret or Virgin Megastore. That's not going to solve the issue. It's going to take away the charm from what Miracle Mile is. But if these properties keep trading for excessive amounts of money, they have to make money because taxes go up, maintenance go up. So they're asking $60, $70, $80 a square foot. Are you aware, and I'll leave you with this, are you aware that the corner of Ponce and Miracle Mile has just, the cafecito is no longer there. Now it's going to be a Wells Fargo. So think about a Wells Fargo. A Wells Fargo is open Monday through Friday, 9 to 4, and then it's closed. So now you have 2 corners on Ponce and Miracle Mile that are banks that are closed. You know how much they're paying a square foot? $110. That was leased to them by Terra Nova. So instead of finding a world-class restaurant or bringing in something, a store or something that's outside the box, they rent it to a bank. I don't know how long the lease is. They set it, they forget it, and it pays every month on auto payment. That to me is not what's good for the mile. We need to do better than that. And that will only hurt the mile, like you've seen other areas in this community be hurt. So we're doing our part so that owners can find the best. We're trying to do our part. We're looking for ideas. We're spending a lot of money on activation, on events, trick or treat. We have Dia de los Muertos. We have an event with Barranquilla. We're trying to do more and more of these events. But at the end of the day, also, people want to be here. People want to be here, but if you notice certain areas, for example, why is the plaza doing so well? Is that entire place full? What are they offering that people want to go into that space and pay significant amount of money? And I think the mile could be a place where everyone wants to be. I think you just have to elevate the quality of the tenants.
Commissioner, did you want to say something?
I appreciate you letting me go first, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to add that, Mr. Cabrera, that's a fine question. And small businesses, as we know, are the backbone of our community. I am very fond of small businesses and we support them in my office. And I just wanted to share that we have a mom and pop grant program that will be opening shortly in the spring. The county, since they went through a deficit last year, remove the funds for mom and pop. So now it's up to the district offices to find those funds, but that's a priority for me because I know how much that little grant can mean to a small business. So we will be opening it in the spring and we'll make sure to let, Coral Gables stay up to date on that so that you can share with your residents and your small businesses and you can apply, and any small business can apply. And we try to give it to every single small business that qualifies as long as they're in the district. I just wanted to add that.
So I appreciate you to add that. And then I'm just going to wrap in a little bit of history. So back when I first was running for office, Terra Nova had increased rents and vacated properties and tried to get a zoning increase because, of course, we needed, in their eyes, more construction and taller buildings in order to be able to keep Miracle Mile, prosperous. That, fortunately, the commission that was sitting at that time voted against that. The same thing has been happening recently too, because someone reached out to me and told me that their rents were doubled and they just couldn't afford it anymore. Doubling a business's rent is just cost prohibitive. So we have to realize, the business politics that's going on behind the scenes, creating a distortion of what's going on. Thank you.
I'll give you an example. One of the properties that Terra Nova owns was Capital Burger. Capital Burger came and went. It was gone in less than 2 years. And now they're gonna do another tenant there. So they paid a huge amount of money for that corner. They're not gonna give it away for free. They're gonna try to bring in a tenant that's willing to pay $70 a foot. So it didn't work. There wasn't the foot traffic. But then you look at something like Motec. How is Motec so successful? Why is Hillstone so successful? Why? Yeah, why are those restaurants doing so well? Because again, they have cachet, they have a good product. So you've got to bring something good. People in the Gables will go to a good restaurant or to a good location if it's quality. You can't just, bring in another pizza shop or sub shop. It's got to be something that is a destination where people enjoy it. I opened up the ribbon. I cut a ribbon this past week for a new place that Laura will remind me. I'm sorry. No, not Maison. The little place on Miracle Mile. Neoclassic. Amazing Turkish bakery, great coffee, and something that I highly recommend that I wish people would go and enjoy. It was packed, and every time I drive by, there's people enjoying that place. Again, it's a destination. It's high quality, and again, there's good value. Anyone else, please? Nobody else has a question? No one else? Nobody else. It could be about city issues. It could be about anything. Yes, sir. Here we go. No worries. We're here.
That's why we're here.
Enjoy.
Hi, this is Roberto Mayen, 621 Minorca. Good evening to all of you. I never spoken here. This is my first time. So concerning Granada Golf Course, about 9 months ago, I think the gazebos were approved to restore some of the gazebos. I have not seen any action on that, and I love that place. Any update?
Mr. Manager, I know that he's asking about the golf huts that we approved.
Shelters.
The shelters, excuse me. Do we have any update on that?
Goes back and put the way that the residents want. That's a project that's.
So what was to give a little bit of context, what was happening before was that there was a very contemporary design that was proposed for these shelters, the golf shelters on the Granada Golf Course. We had a public meeting that the Vice Mayor and I hosted at the Coral Gables Country Club. A lot of the members of the community came out. They spoke that they were not in favor of that, and we went to a more traditional shelter, which kind of looks like kind of like the original ones, just up to today's code and standards. And that's what we decided to move forward on that. And that's what you're seeing soon enough in the shelter, Mr. Manager.
Okay, that's great to hear. The other thing I understand is that golf carts are going to be allowed in the city. What's the plan?
Tomorrow. Second reading tomorrow.
So going back to what the manager said, let me just go back to this, touch this. Right now, the shelters are out to bid, so we'll know something soon. I want to put it on the record because he wasn't speaking into the mic. So that's currently under the cone of silence. So that's being reviewed by subcontractors or possible vendors. In regards to golf carts, I'm the sponsor of the legislation that will be coming for second reading tomorrow during the commission.
Okay, great.
And the simple reasoning is that was brought to me by a gentleman by the name of JC Padron, who brought me the idea a few years ago. I like to give credit where credit is due. And the idea was to promote, healthy living, healthy lifestyle, less gas, more electric, more community-based interactions. And I think golf carts, again, just slow things down a little bit and make it a little bit more about community and quality of life. And hopefully, people start using golf carts, mokes, any type of, what do they call them, Madam Vice Mayor?
Low speed vehicle.
Low speed vehicles.
But that's not a golf cart.
I know, a low speed vehicle.
No,
So
we
that-
love the idea.
So
by
that's
way.
that's the goal.
Yes.
That's the goal.
Thank you.
And you'll hear about it tomorrow in the commission on second reading. Anyone else? Oh, by the way, we also have our dear friend, the tax collector here, Manny, who's representing the tax collector. Mr. Fernandez was hoping to be here, but Manny's represents. If you have any questions for our tax collector, they're here also. Yeah, come on up, come on up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Manuel Orbis, and I'm here on behalf of Dario Fernandez, our county tax collector. First of all, I just wanted to commend everyone for coming out to a town hall meeting. This is a very well-attended town hall meeting, and it looks really good on the city that you have so much public and civic involvement. So thank you, Mayor, thank you, Vice Mayor, and Commissioner for hosting this event, and thank you to everyone who's here. I just wanted to let everyone know that back in August, we opened up an office just next door where folks can get their driver's licenses, they can renew their Florida IDs, they can pay their taxes, and they can renew and open new local business taxes. And even though it opened in August, it was actually either the number one or number two performing office for receiving property tax payments. So the residents of Coral Gables really took to it, and we're really proud and really happy that we have an office here. And I just wanted to thank you guys for that.
Thank you, by the way. Just to give you an idea, this has been incredibly successful. And people tell me all the time, they come and renew their license, it's 5 minutes. It's really quick. So I want to thank you and Mr. Fernandez for bringing that forward. Myself and the Vice Mayor sponsored that item, and I think it's been a real asset for the city. And thank you for that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. By the way, nice handkerchief, Manny. That's a nice handkerchief. Can we have also our chief of police come up here just for 1 second? Chief, since we have a little bit of time here before we close out, I'd like for you to talk to people, because there was a lot of rhetoric, and I wish the Gazette would have stayed, because this is the best part. This is the best part, and that is that there was a clamor, multiple clamors here. As the election season comes and it starts winding up, it's the screaming of corruption, the screaming of crime, the screaming of we don't have enough police officers, we're incredibly undermanned. The sky's falling. Will you do me a favor? Will you talk a little bit about policing, where we are in regards to census, employees, all that kind of stuff?
Sure.
Crime rates, everything.
And again, Ed Hudak, Chief of Police, Coral Gables. Most importantly, I think to your point on the corruption side of it, as we have talked during commission meetings through the city attorney's office and the city manager, any of those allegations that were brought forward to the commissioners go sent through the manager to my office. Internal Affairs opens those up, but we do not do those investigations. They get farmed out either to the sheriff's office, the state attorney's office, or the public corruption unit for the state of Florida, and they've handled all of those cases. Some of those are still pending, and some of those are in the final drafts of what the findings were of those investigators. It wasn't something that we've done. Overall, and I know in the last, and I got a little bit nervous when we started talking about head counts, and I realized the 37 positions that we hired last year were existing police department counts that came on. So again, our background investigators who work pretty much around the clock, we were able to find and hire successfully last year for the first time ever in the city, 37 new police officers. We currently have 20 of those are actually in the police academy. So our actual vacancy rate as it stands today is we have 9 police officer vacancies in the city, 20 in the academy. We have about 3 that'll probably be waiting to go in shortly. staffing wise, we were able to finally start to fully implement, as you touched on, Mayor, the downtown unit. I know some of those people are on the mile. Our horse patrol is like more popular than the rest of us, I guess. And so we are able to get into that community policing that we had always aspired to, but also demanded from our residents. We do our technology side that we've talked about as we've continued to judiciously use not just our appropriated budgets, but also through our forfeited assets, which is not paid by the taxpayers. We've able to increase, enhance, and pilot some technology. I believe that is helping us look at things almost immediately. As you know, through the city's approval, we have now a drone program, which will be an automated drone program. We have one more meeting with them in Washington, the state of Washington, to look at how AI actually works along with our drone program and responding to that. To give you an idea on the statistics side, compared to last year, and these are as simple as today. I mean, last year at this time, March, we had probably 35 burglary cases to a residence, and this year we've had 4 to date. So we continue to trend in the right direction. I don't want to say that's all technology, but as we bring on the new officers, as we train them on the way that we want things done here in Coral Gables, we continue to see a decrease in every category, with the exception of one, and that's a 50-50 split. So we continue to put the boots on the ground, so to speak. I think I can't say more about our officers teaching our younger officers what's expected. And we're just very proud to be your police department.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So again, from the horse's mouth, no pun intended. From the horse's mouth, no pun intended. Mr. Fire Chief, Mr. Fire Chief, would you be a gentleman? And we always have 100% census with the fire department. Will you talk a little bit about our new fire station 4, when you're looking at to open, any other important items from the fire department?
Thank you, Mayor. Timely, we just went today and did our final inspection of that fire station, and complete work is done. We're basically working on just the touch-ups for our grand opening that is scheduled for March 27th at 10:30 in the morning. The extra rescue that was put into service and was being planned for that station, we've already put it in service. The reason we put it in service prior to the station being open is because we have now tested the zone assignments and making sure that any issues that could happen with the 911 service or the computer system that will be assigning that new zone have been debugged and corrected prior to that station opening up. Currently, we have 6 firefighters in our academy. They'll be graduating in early April. At that point, we will have approximately 2 vacancies. 2 of them are 2 candidates that did not finish the academy. If not, we would be at 100%.
When we have an opening, what are we averaging right now in regards to individuals that are submitting applications per opening, would you say?
We average about 200 applicants for the positions that we have open. That number is because we only process individuals that are duly certified in firefighter and paramedic.
So our standards, and the chief can speak about it more. He knows, he's more versed on this than myself, excuse me. We have the highest standards in regards to any fire department in Miami-Dade County, and we still get 200 individuals applying for one position. That goes to show you what a privilege it is to work for the city of Coral Gables. And another thing I wanted to mention with the chief of a police, he's done a great job along with the manager. They deserve the credit for their hard work. We were down 37 positions, handling overtime. We have restructured in regards to our union contract, and we're giving a $10,000 bonus for police officers. We understand the importance of these employees, both police and fire. We're beyond grateful for their hard work here in the community. And I want to thank all of you for your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, if I may.
Of course.
I want to commend Chief Hudak and Chief De La Rosa. I have 6 cities in the district, and I have to tell you that Coral Gables does a stellar job. I was surprised to hear that you've had allegations because, you know, you're the standard of public safety. My kids go to school here. I work every single day in Coral Gables, and you do a stellar job. Both of you do a stellar job at, you know, keeping the city safe and your residents safe. So I commend you, and I thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? This is our democracy at work here. Nobody else? All right, so before I close, we have a video. We have one video we want to run, correct? It's a slide. I want to show you one slide. Thank you, Laura, for reminding me. She's been texting me the whole meeting to make sure that we follow, that I don't miss a beat. This is an important slide that really talks about process. It's pretty self-explanatory, and it's pretty redundant. It talks about every registered voter in Coral Gables will automatically receive a ballot by mail. Your deadline to register is March 23rd. There will be no in-person voting, no early voting, and no election polling places. This election includes ballot questions only. Once you receive your ballot, vote, sign the envelope, and include your residential address. Return the ballot by mail or deliver it in person to the Miami-Dade Supervisor of Elections headquarters in Doral. Your ballot must be received by 7 p.m. on April 21st. So you have a significant amount of time to submit that ballot once you receive it in home. Postmarks do not count. Postage is not required. Let me reiterate, because I know that Mr. Wells was obsessed with postage before. Postage is not required. Postage is not required. Receiving a ballot for this Coral Gables election does not enroll you in the vote by mail for future elections. If you have any questions at all, we also have a number. Besides a website, besides multiple pieces of mail, I think it should be 3 pieces of mail you received in home, besides emails, besides being included in the e-news, besides being included in the Vice Mayor's newsletter, my newsletter, we also have a phone number that you can call directly if you have any questions in regards to the election. Do we have that number here? Okay, it's on the city website. 722-VOTE. So it's 305-722-VOTE. I'll say it again. 305-722-VOTE. We have made it as easy as possible. We want to hear from you in regards to these 8 referendums. They're critically important to truly protecting the city. When elected officials raise their salaries without your approval, it's a slap in the face. When they talk about spending reserves, it puts the city at risk. When you talk about corruption, there should be an inspector general. The county has an inspector general, correct? The county has an inspector general. I'm not afraid of having an inspector general here. Doral voted for it. And by the way, you're going to hear a lot of rhetoric in regards to the ballot language for moving elections to November. Almost 30 cities have elections in November out of the 34. Would you like to know where we got that ballot language for? It wasn't Vince Lago or Rhonda Anderson that came up with this. You know how we got this language? Madam City Attorney, where do we get the language from?
It was from the city of South Miami's question to change their charter.
We use South Miami's language. Exactly. We did not make up anything. We did not do anything that favors us. We use South Miami's language, which, by the way, worked, and they changed their elections to November. Final point. By changing elections to November, I'm shaving 4 months from my term, not adding 16, and from her term also, not adding 16 months like Mr. Wells failed to mention, because if we had this election in November, it would have been 16-month increase in my term. So in closing, Mr. Clerk, would you like to add anything? Mr. Manager, Mr. DCM, Public Works? Oh, Alicia Fernandez, what a pleasure. We close off on a smile. Madam ACM, I forgot you. I didn't see you there. I apologize.
Hello, thank you, everybody. My name is Alicia Fernandez, 6000 Granada Boulevard. I want to thank every single one of you for allowing this to happen. And I did learn a lot about the referendums, and I honestly hope they all pass. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to, in closing, thank our supervisor of elections, thank our commissioner from District 6, thank our tax collector, and I want to thank most importantly of all, our employees. Can we get a round of applause for employees? Thank you.